Hello and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Let Me Talk to My Customer. Happy to have my co-host here, Richard Tyler, with us this morning. How are you doing, Rich?
I am rocking and rolling, Chad. How are you?
I'm good, man. Dialed in. Your hair is on point. The shirt's looking fly. We're doing quite well. I don't know if fly is actually an adjective anymore that we're allowed to use, but
Don't say that anymore, Chad.
we're going with it. Marketing, we're being different, all that sort of thing. So we are on part two this morning of our marketing series, our little marketing exercise here.
Yeah.
Last week we tackled what marketing would look like and how we could attract customers from a company standpoint, and what are those factors where we connect and how we can distinguish ourselves. And so this week we're going to dive into the salesperson's perspective on this end. It's going to have a lot of the same features in terms of obviously the value that we're representing, but I think the way a salesperson should view the marketing efforts and getting more sales is going to be quite a bit different than what the company is going to be expecting and planning to do. So before we dive into that, let's talk about just where you guys can find us and how you can be a part of the show. So we will have future series coming up where we'll probably bring on some guests, and we'll also have some future sales training series that we're going to do, not on the stream or on the podcast, but we'll be bringing back our closing series likely in March or April, just seeing how the conventions and stuff shake out this fall. And then we will plan for that. So be on the lookout there. If you aren't connected with us, we'd love for you to be a part of our community, whether that be subscribing here on Facebook and liking and getting notifications for when we're streaming live, or you can follow and like our page, Counts Business Consulting, on Facebook, and you can also follow along with us on LinkedIn, Chad Counts, Richard Tyler there. And we post every week. We post the YouTube, usually the audio as well there, and you can always find that on our website too. If you or your company is struggling, having any sort of sales issues at this moment, or potentially, you have bilingual salespeople on your staff, as far as I know, we're the only resource in the industry to train and coach up your bilingual sales. And I should be more specific, Spanish-speaking salespeople, not all bilingual, right? That's right. I don't want to be misleading or gloss over that. But I think that's quite honestly a very underserved community in our industry, and they have a great deal of customers, I think, that would respond very well to sales techniques. And so, yeah, if that's something that could benefit you, we would love to work with you, and we would love to hear from you guys. So with that being said, let's dive in to our episode this week. So, Rich, it's often part of our practice when we are engaging and developing rapport with new salespeople that we're taking on in training, that we want to get a sense from them as to why customers should do business with them. And I think this is something that all salespeople have thought about to some extent, but I would say we haven't dug often very far in terms of really uncovering, why why a customer would really do business with us in an ongoing sense. So what's been your experience asking, and what kind of responses do you typically get from salespeople when you're addressing why customers choose them?
Yeah. So 9 times out of 10, I feel like when we ask, what is it that you bring to the table as a salesperson, they're more likely than not going to say something like my customer service. And I think from our perspective, what you called it white noise, like it's always there in the background, kind of buzzing, but isn't of what's utmost importance. And it's kind of, I think when we're thinking about what the salesperson can do to market themselves, they should probably drill down to something that's a bit more concrete than customer service.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those, that's where our mind goes. And in a sense, we want to honor it because, hey, that's an essential element. But it's also one of those, it's a minimum requirement. If you don't have customer service, you don't have customers, sort of thing. And there's a fair bit of our sales reps that we've come across with in this industry where they don't really have customers. And that is a distinguishing characteristic. They might have okay sales numbers and hit 80,000, maybe even the low 100,000s, but it's a rebuild every month, right? It's reclosing.
Yeah, I ask those people all the time, like, how many shops do you feel like rely on you exclusively for their parts, even if they buy from other yards? Like when they're calling your yard, how many people deal with you exclusively? And they'll be like,
they always, yeah, they either have zero awareness or completely blind and say, oh, they always call me first, or I'm always, what have you. And yeah, so I mean, part of this is, for you sales people that are listening to this podcast, it's your internal evaluation in two different ways. So you can do this two ways. One, when you look at your own counter, right? You look at all the other sales reps that are in your company. What is it that you do that's distinct, that is valuable? For some reps, they absolutely should emphasize their parts and mechanical knowledge or anything like that, right? They've got however many years of background. They were previously a mechanic, or they were a dismantler before, a parts puller. That's great. That is absolutely a sellable trait. That's a helpful trait. And you can connect with customers on that level. And I would suspect that you're going to draw repeat business from other people that have kind of a similar background and experience. Okay. Likewise, you can look at the counter, and some of the stuff you almost see in the abstract of how many salespeople on your team are disorganized. How many sales reps on your team struggle to follow up, struggle to call back, don't clear their resolutions on time, don't update their notes. There could be a number of things like that you could see, that I call this self-scouting of, you look and say, okay, what puts you ahead of the pack? And I would say, without a doubt, the sales reps that are doing over 200,000 a month regularly, they have great organizational skills, or they follow through, they have a good system, they have good processes in place. It's not like, holy smokes, I just had a record month. Now I've got to figure out how to keep up with everything, get everybody tracking numbers and this, that, or the other. They have systems in place that have allowed them to build that. Would you say that's a fair distinction between sales members on staffs?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Is there anything else between staff members that really stand out to you, whether it be personality, knowledge base, or effectiveness?
I think you touched on the only other one that really comes up a lot, and that is their consistency in being able to follow up.
Okay. Yeah. So those are the main two. There probably are some personality, more outgoing, or maybe you each like the Buckeyes, or you each like, whatever. There's some of those smaller things that you can connect on, and that's great too, if you can use that to your benefit. Yeah. Okay. Beyond the counter, so that's your internal self-scout. The outside self-scout is, how does your company compare? And this kind of ties back to what we talked about last episode. How does your company compare to your other competitors in the area? Are you the premium option? Are you the luxury option? You guys always have the newest, best, etc. Are you guys the budget option? Are you tend to have more of everything than everybody else? It might be older miles, it might be this, that, or the other, but you serve that end of the spectrum. Do you have a better standard warranty than everybody else? What are some of those other company characteristics you can think of, Rich? I mean, even just from us working with different companies, that you notice of what one company has a benefit of compared to another.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned standard warranties. I'd say hand in hand with that would be how your extended warranties compare to competitors. You have things like delivery within a certain geographical area, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think one of the largest is availability, right? We go back to inventory is what sells. the fact that you have access, and maybe you haven't studied this, but I think this is a very, very valuable point. You have access to how many cars and how many parts within one day's shipment, right? That would be one. If I was part of a trading group or trading network or anything like that, um, I have access to 30,000 cars within one day, right? Whatever it is. I mean, some of those numbers are nuts when you're linking different cities and different things that are close together. So that's something to brag about, right? You want to say, hey, when you call me, I have options for you, right? And not only that, but I can deliver within your time frame and this, that, or the other. So part of that may take a little research on the weekend. It may, after hours or whatever, you go on the websites of your competitors, or when you're on chat, when you're shooting the breeze with your fellow salespeople in this industry. Hey, man, what kind of next day delivery? How often, how many areas do you guys hit? What is your core policy return? What is your standard warranty? Just see how you guys stack up. You want to have a sense for where you're distinct. Most companies are going to have advantages, but they're also going to have disadvantages. And so if I know I'm selling against a particular competitor, most often, what is it about me that is better? The last endeavor on this, I would say, is your customers. What is it on your customers' end that are their preferences? We've started to see this come up a little bit more and more in terms of there's new ordering platforms, there's new requirements being made of the employees at some of these larger MSOs and chain stores. If you're a sales rep, you need to be having conversations, and not just you to the customer, but if there are changes afoot or things coming up, you need to talk with your management about how you guys can stay engaged and not lose that market, right? To stay engaged and be able to say, hey, they're going to be ordering 80% of their parts from this platform or whatever that number is. We got to figure out a way to get on that. We got to figure out a way to get access to that. Those are things you want to be sound, you want to be smart on. And I think we miss that two ways. One, a lot of our sales reps aren't attuned enough to even realize that's happening. Two, the sales rep might hear that and they might not do anything. They might just say, okay, that account's lost. And they might not pass that on to their manager owner, right? So that's the insight perspective. That all comes from one question. Why should I do business with you as a sales rep? Right. So there are a lot of layers to that. And obviously, if you're a newer sales rep, I don't expect you to know that right away. I would start and work your way out. I would start internally, see how you compare to your peers, see who's performing well and how you can adopt those traits, who's not performing well and how can you avoid those traits, and then move to your company and then move to your customer to try and fill out your understanding. Okay. All right. So our next stage that we're going to talk about in marketing yourself as a salesperson is marketing within your existing communication, right? We already communicate frequently with our customers. From a company perspective, we really struggle to gain customer attention, right? We're trying to break in, almost jackhammer into this cone of silence of their day's busy enough. How can I get their attention? Sales reps have a tremendous opportunity, and I would even say responsibility, to market themselves well because you're already in communication, right? And we were talking about marketing as increasing future leads, future opportunities. Mm-hmm. That is absolutely a part of your existing opportunities, how you can increase future opportunities, not just this transaction. It's about the relationship and future transactions as well. So, Rich, what are some of the primary go-tos or areas where you think sales reps can really make a dent and market themselves better within existing communication?
I gotta mention it again only because it's one of my favorites, but in following up, when they follow up, I always remind reps that it's not just about following up on a quote that you made earlier in the week. It's about also, if they give you any kind of answer that's not, yes, I want to buy your part, it's, okay, what else are you working on? So it's not just that you're there to follow up on an open quote. It's that you're also there making sure that you're taking care of whatever their needs might be.
Sure. And even picking up on what they clearly chose another part, right? I mean, if the car didn't get totaled, are you doing the repair? Oh, who did you go with? And that kind of backs up into the other of that allows you to start scouting the competition, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What about in terms of their forms of communication and how they can utilize those skills or those tools to market better? I mean, things that they're already doing and just making themselves more marketable.
Yeah, I know one of the things that we talk about all the time is just the fact that emailing quotes, for example, isn't like the standard in the industry, you know? And it's one of those things that I find that elite salespeople are definitely doing. And um, there's even, I think most yard systems now have some automatic email system where all you have to do is, enter in their information and then it'll like automatically email them a quote or an invoice or whatever. But a lot of those also have that space at the bottom of the quotes that are like, thank you for.
Signature area.
Yeah, exactly. So that you can personalize it because that kind of thing is marketing as well.
Sure.
Making sure that you have all your information and how to get in touch with you on those type of forms. And those are forms that everybody's already using.
I mean, there's a reason why, on our podcast, we include Facebook, LinkedIn, website, everything within even the description, whether it's on Apple or Spotify or wherever. I want to make it easy for you guys. If you want to connect, that link is right there on any of your devices, any of your platform to be able to do that. And I think we overlook how, I mean, you can make that automatic, right? You can save your signature and make it to where that goes out every time. And I think a lot of salespeople think maybe they hear that from me and they think it's white noise. And I look at it as it's free. It's free space. It's free opportunity to put
Yeah.
your extension, to put your, I don't think it's instant messenger anymore. It's Skype and maybe Podium or other text chat platforms and things like that. Even your company website. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from trying to draw as many connections as possible. But more than that, I think this is a great opportunity to separate yourself from the herd in a way that is commonplace in every other industry, but is still potentially an advantage in ours, right? I can't remember the last time I ordered something, and we were talking about it before we got on today. It's very frustrating with a company where you order something and you don't get an email within 2 minutes that
Right.
the order is confirmed. All of a sudden it says, your payments process and everything, and boom, did it happen? Did you get what you wanted? Did you not get it? Different things like that. It's bizarre to me that these are companies that they're trying to organize their day. They're trying to figure out when the part's coming. They're trying to figure out, typically there's multiple parts on a repair. Uh, they're organizing when that's going to get done, communicate to the customer when they can expect to pick up their vehicle. There's so many steps to this. So the fact that we don't sit there and send a tracking number, or we don't send the quote, or we don't, it just makes us look lesser than, whether it be a dealership, whether it be, Fortune 500 company or whatever. Like that's standard operating these
Yeah.
days.
It really. And we know our industry is slow to, get in the groove on these kind of things. But I figure like we keep chugging along, we keep mentioning it on every podcast sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, if you commit something to a habit that's the standard of care, and you're doing above what everybody else is doing, then that is something that's very helpful. The other thing that I would say is just the follow-ups, the callbacks, the looking for ways to have more touch points, even if it doesn't always have to be when there's problems. It can be, hey, this was supposed to get there this morning. I know you need, if they had expressed, we got to have it this morning, that was a big priority, a big value step. If you hit your mark, if you delivered on it, follow up on the good, right? It doesn't even have to be an open or pending. It can be, yes, we delivered, and I want to highlight and emphasize the fact that you needed it this morning. Our truck was there at 8 o'clock. Boom, you guys are taken care of. Did you get it? Oh, great. That's wonderful. I'm so glad we got that done, right? There's ways to make this, right, where I get to connect with my customers as often as I can, and I want to do it in a way that's as positive as possible. And so finding
And I
those
would just say that the same goes also for anytime there is a larger completed sale. If everything goes swimmingly on, a larger opportunity, that's a great time as well to follow up and say, "Oh, it did go well." It did.
yeah, reinforce a positive when it's already there. Okay, and lastly, the last frontier that we're going to tackle, and again, I think this is something that it's somewhat common everywhere else, and it's just underutilized still. And I would say that is our self promotion, our self marketing. I'll touch on briefly kind of the in person press the flesh that is out of fashion, at least at the moment. But I know there's sales reps that have done very well in terms of going to car shows or taking time out of their weekends to go and visit shops in person, or even asking their manager, say, hey, I'd really like to go hit this area for an afternoon. Could I have Thursday or Friday afternoon to go call in some customers? Even just that instinct of being proactive. I know most owners, and I would still probably prefer you guys to be on the counter, but I'd love to hear that you have that desire to go and see your customers.
Sure.
I think that's something that distinguishes yourself. And to point to that in a way that's not just about being in person, and it kind of highlights broader value in it, is some of our very best salespeople, they act like our customers do. They just have that same mentality, same passion, same hobbies. And so it's kind of natural that they find themselves among these forums or these groups or these car shows or things like that, because they feel at home there, and they almost feel a part of their customer's company as much as they do their own auto parts store, right? Like there's this sense that, no, I'm their parts provider, but I'm a part of Team Gerber. I'm a part of Team whatever that shop is. That they almost make themselves an extension of those operations, right? Um, Beyond that, what we can do in the pandemic, right? So a lot of that's out of touch. We can't do a whole lot of that right now.
Right.
Although geographically, that's different in every area. But Rich, what would you say, social media wise, platform wise, otherwise, sales reps should be looking to do to try and establish themselves as a market presence?
I mean, I'm just thinking there's the obvious things like Facebook and LinkedIn. I know a lot of the people that we work with have professional Facebook pages, that they use to link to their customers. I'm thinking of one yard in particular that we work with that specializes in Viper parts. I mean, they're members of Viper fan clubs all around the United States, things like that.
Yeah, and everybody is getting more and more connected and global. And I mean, I think even from being a parts provider, if I can connect with remanufacturers or aftermarket suppliers, or the more established I get, the broader my reach. You have this ability. LinkedIn is free.
Uh-huh.
Instagram is free, Facebook is free, and I'm not going to tell you how to use those platforms, right? Obviously, they have other uses too, but I think at least LinkedIn is criminally underutilized amongst our community, especially when you're getting into where you're in larger cities and you're talking about chain operations and things like that. You seem less. I mean, just being perfectly honest, anybody who's not on LinkedIn seems less professional. I mean, if I go on there and say, oh, I've got my great contact over here, I was going to refer somebody to you and they couldn't go and verify you. To me, that's a little bit problematic. I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but there might be a number of different people out there that are trying to figure out resources and parts. You never know why they're going to come across one. You also don't know when they're going to fall out of favor with their current parts provider. And they're like, okay, I'm tired of this. I never get a tracking number. They don't issue my credit on time. They don't do this. I need somebody else I can rely on. Because there are customers out there that aren't just looking to go on Cardash Part and have to have a new rep every time they order a part. There are plenty of wholesale customers that get that they want to have an ongoing relationship and dynamic where I call one person. I value my time. I value my your ability to solve problems and things like that. I want something value added rather than just a website to do that. And if you are presenting yourself to be that person, I can't understand why you wouldn't have a presence on LinkedIn. And not only just to your end customers, but to your trading partners. I see multiple times a week, hey, does anybody know this auto parts shop? Are they a broker? Are they this, that, or the other? So even when you're looking at potential vendors and even buying other used parts from other recyclers, there is value in being able to verify who you are and have a presence, whether it be on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. So if you're not doing that, I think that, again, these are all things, they're extra efforts. Nobody's going to require you to do these things, or at least not yet. But if you see this as a career, if you see this as something that you're going to be around for 10, 20, 30 years, start early. I mean, you might not see the dividends of it the first year. You might not even see it for the first couple months. But there will be traction. There will be buildup. There will be presence. I know I've seen other people elevate themselves just by how they've been able to build a following and self-promote in a way that is meaningful and not just, hey, I'm good at customer service, right? They can point to how they've solved problems or how they've done others, or I've sold this much in a year and I'm aiming to be here. They have clout, they have respect, and they have presence. And I think many of our, I would say, middle tier salespeople, they're excellent, and they might be excellent at what they do, but people don't know about it, right? They're excellent without presence. And I think a missing ingredient to that is, how do you elevate yourself? How do you give yourself a presence in this day and age? And there's plenty of tools to do that. They're not necessarily comfortable for everybody. I get that. But don't ignore the value. Don't ignore the opportunity that's out there. Anything else you want to add on just sales and their reflection of marketing and how they can draw customers to them more frequently, Rich?
I think we did a fantastic synopsis of all the different marketing maneuvers that a salesperson could and should be taking. The idea, as we said last week and from the get-go here, is with an eye on increasing future opportunity.
Yeah, you are always, it's an investment. It's an investment in your customer and trying to get their attention and trying to prove yourself. And it's one of those things where almost all the steps we talked about, the thing that it costs you is time. It's it. And so it never surprises me when our sales reps who are better with their time also do this better. And so they continue to grow by leaps and bounds. They figured out that if this saves me 5 seconds and I can do this every time, that's worth a lot. Or if this saves me a second interaction or another phone call and confusion, man, that's 5 minutes. And that's hugely valuable. So value yourself, value your time, value your customers. That's what this comes down to. And I think there's a lot here. And I think there's a lot that's worthy of your consideration. So hope you guys have enjoyed that. Hope you think through that and that you're able to take some actionable takeaways here. And again, as always, find us through our links and whatever platform you're finding us. There should be a way to get a hold of Rich or myself. If we can add value, help coach you guys up, even if it's one-off hourly consulting or anything like that, we would love to be a part of your team and help you guys continue to grow. So for Rich, I'm Chad. All the best to you guys this week, and look forward to seeing you guys in person sometime in 2021.